Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Football Friday with Rashad. Let's get into the recap of what happened last week in college football and NFL and look ahead to this weekend in college football and NFL. Let's get into it. Last week, we're going to start with the college football. A lot of upsets, man, that took place last Saturday. We're going to start with Alabama losing to Vanderbilt 40 to 35. They lost as number one team in the country. They beat Georgia. That was a crazy, crazy upset. And then you had number four, Tennessee. They lose last week to Arkansas, 19 to 14. The quarterback for Tennessee looked like he lost track of the situation where he simply ran out of bounds instead of just throwing the ball in his zone. It was on fourth down. Maybe he forgot what down it was. It was just a strange way to end the game. It was 19 to 14. It was history made too. You gotta go back to October 6th, 2012, where two teams from the same conference lost as a top five team. It was two teams back in 2012, it was LSU and Georgia. And then you got to go back to 2004, 20 years ago, October 30th. Miami, number 14 in the country, number 5. Florida State, they lost. So two top four teams from the same conference got beat. But you got to go back to 2012, the last time that happened, against unranked opponents where two teams from the same conference ranked in the top 5 lose on the same day. That's how wacky it was last week. And the games look like it's going to be automatics for the favorites, but not the case. There's a lot of upsets. So you had those two upsets, and then you had Michigan lose to Washington, a rematch of last year's championship game. And they win by a score of 27-17. That was an upset. USC lost 24 to 17 to Minnesota. SMU upset number 22 Louisville, 34-27. So there was a lot of upsets, man. A lot of surprises last week. The team that didn't get upset on Saturday was the Miami Hurricanes. They overcame a 25-point deficit. They were down 35-10. They was able to come back and win 39-38. Cam Ward definitely had his Heisman moment. Played outstanding. Especially in the second half. Despite that pick six, there were 3 touchdown drives, and including that touchdown drive of 92 yards. The biggest play in that drive was the 77-yard touchdown play. 77-yard pass play to Xavier Stretbo, and he was able to almost go all the way for 77 yards. Because he went 92 yards. So he ended up scoring a touchdown pass from Cam Ward to Elijah Arroyo. And they was able to win the game 38-39. So they're the team, top 10 team that didn't get picked off last week compared to everybody else in the top 10. Like Michigan, like Tennessee, like Alabama. They didn't get picked off. Other teams, held on. Georgia, number 5 team, they didn't get upset. They beat Auburn last week, no surprise there. Missouri lost in the top 10, 41-10 to Texas A&M. So there's some teams that held on despite being ranked in the top 10. Penn State beat UCLA 27-11. So that's the storyline of what took place last week in college football for as the upsets that took place last week. Picks of the week, I did pretty good. Solid, not great, but I'll take it 3-2. I was 3-2 last week, and overall I'm now 23-10 on the season. 23-10. So I'll take it. Excuse me, 23-11. 23-11. So I came into last week 20-9 overall. I ended up winning 3 games and losing 2, so I'm 23-11. So got a pretty good record. Last week was just no crazy, man. Again, the stat was very, very interesting that with Vanderbilt beating Alabama and Tennessee losing, it marked the first time that 2 top 5 teams from the same conference lost. Again, October 6, 2012, before LSU and number 5 Georgia got beat against unranked opponents. And it was the first time 2 top 5 teams were defeated by unranked opponents since number 4 Miami and number 5 Florida State lost on October 30th, 2004. So that you gotta go back 20 years ago where 2 top 5 teams lost to unranked opponents. Since that time happened. So just history being made last week in college football with that situation. All right, so my picks of the week, like I said, did pretty good. I got Miami, California game right. I was right about Georgia beating Auburn. I expected them to bounce back and losing week before to Alabama. So I was right on that. Oregon over Michigan State, they played last Friday. Um, so I got Miami game right, Oregon game right, Georgia game right. Missouri and Texas never got wrong. I had Missouri over Texas and I had Michigan over Washington. So currently I'm 23-11, 3-2 record last week. So we're going to week 7. Got a big game tomorrow, Ohio State versus Oregon. I got Ohio State beating Oregon. I got Texas over Oklahoma. Alabama over South Carolina. I think Alabama will bounce back. USC got them upsetting Penn State. I got Tennessee over Florida. So those are my picks of the week. So that's it for the college football scenario. Let's get into the National Football League. Thinking about these 2 teams, back to the Ohio State Oregon matchup. It was a great matchup. Ohio State leads the series 9-1. Big time game. Both teams undefeated 5-0. The game will be first time that 2 top 5 teams will meet at Appleton Stadium. Now, last time these teams were met was back in 2021 when Oregon beat the Buckeyes 35-28. Now, the key matchup in this game, keep your eyes on Ohio State. They lead the nation in total defense, allowing opponents only 4 touchdowns collectively, averaging just 202.4 yards per game on offense. Oregon has been averaging 458.8 offensive yards a game with 20 touchdowns. So see what they do against Dylan Gabriel, the transfer from Oklahoma. He has thrown 11 touchdowns, leads the nation in completion percentage. Keep your eyes on him. Keep your eyes on Will Howard, the quarterback of Ohio State. He's only thrown 3 interceptions and 12 touchdowns. He's ran 4 rushing scores. That's the most by a Buckeye quarterback in 5 seasons. And Jordan Burch, on the defensive end, was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Had 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles, and a fumble recovery against Michigan State last Saturday. So he's tied 8th nationally with a career high 5 sacks. Buckeyes have allowed just 4 sacks all season. And also, these 2 teams have history for us playing for the national championship against each other. 2014, 10 years ago, the guys beat Oregon 42-20 in the first college football playoff title game. Let's get to the National Football League. last week you had a surprise, some surprises. As far as like so it was like when you look at the second quarter of the season in the NFL, you had some surprises like the Giants, man. They're getting to go into Seattle with a 1-3 record, and they beat 3-1 Seattle Seahawks 29-20. And Daniel Jones continued to play well. He was 23 out of 34, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. And they did this without Malik Neighbors in the starting lineup. 23 out of 34. Daniel Jones, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tracy Jr. ran the ball extremely well, replacing Devin Singletary. And they were still able to win. He ran for 129 yards. Slayton had 8 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. And also, defensively, the Giants played very well defensively. Also, time of possession, they dominated 37-22. But the defense, they had about 7 sacks. 7 sacks on the season. And 7 sacks on the year. And also, the Giants lead the league at 22 sacks. So the Giants' pass rush was a factor. Dexter Lawrence had 3 sacks in this game. Then you had the Cardinals beat the 49ers by a score of 24-23. That was a surprise. That was a surprise. As far as Seattle winning, I mean, Seattle loses to the Giants, and then you got the Cardinals beating the 49ers to give them a 2-3 record now. San Francisco, that was the perspective that happened last week, them losing, going under 500, or a game under 500. Then you had the Ravens winning the shootout 41-38. Burrow had 5 touchdown passes in the loss. Carl Jackson had 4 touchdown passes. So he went 41-38. Also, Buffalo lost to Houston 23-20. So still on that. So quickly, that's it for the look at the NFL for last week. Still got 2 unbeaten teams. The Vikings still 5-0. They 5-0, beating the Jets 23-20, 23-17. Robert Saleh got fired. And then you have another scenario. Chiefs are 5-0, 26-13 win against the Saints past Monday night. Let's fast forward to this week. Did pretty good last week. The picks of the week before I get into let's look for this week. I was 4-1 last week. I got the Ravens. Excuse me. Vikings over the Jets. Ravens over the Bengals. Texans over the Bills. I was right about that. Commanders over the Browns. I was correct about that. So I was able to get those picks right. So Cardinals in the 49ers game, I got that wrong. I thought the 49ers would beat the Cardinals. So I was 4-1 this season. Last week with the picks of the week. So I'm 15-10. So I got the Ravens over the Commanders, Lions over the Cowboys, Steelers over the Raiders, Texans over the Patriots, and the Giants over the Bengals. All right, so let's go over what to look for this week. Jaguars and the Bears, they played in London on 9:30 a.m. on NFL Network. So this will be the first the Jaguars back-to-back games in London. They'll play the New England Patriots on October 20th at Wembley Stadium. The Jaguars have won 3 of their past 4 games overseas. So if their back-to-back games in London last season against Atlanta and Buffalo. Keep your eyes on that. With the Jaguars, the storyline for the Bears is you keep your eyes on them as far as their rushing attack. This is a team that has slowly been built on defense on the ground and pound rushing attack. It's hard to believe that Chicago has tied its longest streak over the past 3 years when the Bears rushed for multiple touchdowns in 2 straight games against the Rams and Panthers. Their last streak of 3 straight multiple rushing touchdown games, I'll go back to 1990. So DeAndre Swift has been playing, could be another, be 3 straight. Swift has notched over 100 scrimmage yards in back-to-back weeks, so see if he can do that. That's tied for the long streak of his career. Stat to note is that the Jaguars are 1-12 versus MC North opponents dating back to 2012. Their only win was over the Bears in October 2016. Cardinals and the Packers. Storyline from this game is the Cardinals keep your eyes on Kyler Murray leads all quarterbacks in yards per rush, 10.7. No other quarterbacks averaging more than 7.3. And you're going against a defense that's giving up 4.4 yards per carry. That's 16th in the league. For the storyline for the Packers, keep your eyes on Jordan Love. He's already thrown 5 interceptions. That's tied for 4th most in the league, despite playing in only 3 games, with 10 interceptions in his first 9 games before only just won the final 8 games. So the Cardinals' defense is tied for 8th in interceptions. The season went 4. So that knows that Murray's completing 64.4% of pressure, which is second in the NFL behind Jaden Daniels. Colts and Titans. This is a match against the stingiest and most poorest defense in the league, according to yards per game. The Titans have allowed a league low 243.8 yards per game, while the Colts are yielding a league high 419.2 yards a game. They gave up 37 points to the Jaguars last week, so see what happens who plays better defense. Titans, the offensive line has proved to be better at run blocking than pass protection, so look for the Titans to work the rushing attack against the Colts' run defense that is allowing 157 yards per game. Stat knows that the Titans have won 8 straight games following their bye, which is the second longest active streak in the NFL. Texans and the Patriots, this is a terrible game. Should expect the Texans to win this one. This will be the second time the Texans face a rookie quarterback this season. Drake May is going to be starting this week. He's set to make his career start. For the first time, the Patriots have a 7-0 all-time record against the Texans at Gillette Stadium. They're 5-0 in the regular season and 2-0 in the postseason. Set to know that the Texans are 0-7 all-time on the road whenever they face the Patriots, who in the playoffs, which is their second most losses without a road win against a single opponent. They're 0-8 also against the Ravens. Buccaneers and the Saints. Buccaneers, keep your eyes on them. They're trying to avoid an 0-2 divisional start. Only 5 teams that started their seasons 0-2 in the division have won them. So the current format was installed in 2002. So we'll see what happens. On the Saints storyline, the Saints will be starting a quarterback with no experience after Derek Carr injured his oblique against the Chiefs this past Monday night. So Ricky Spencer Rattler will be starting. Seth knows that loss for the Saints will mark the longest losing streak, which is 4 since losing 5 straight in 2021. The Browns and the Eagles. And the Browns have not played great at all on offense. They're off to a bad start historically. They have scored under 20 points in all 5 games in this season. All 5 games, they scored only 20 points. Storyline for the Eagles, you should expect AJ Brown to play. The first time since week 1, they scored 34 points, so that offense is going to be improved. Lane Johnson and Devontae Smith should be back, so they'll be back in full strength. Stat knows that Deshaun Watson has a 21 total QBR this season, which is the 4th worst total QBR in team's first 5 games of the season, among 480 quarterbacks to start all 5 games since. We keep moving. Got a good one here. The Ravens and the Commanders. Storyline for the Commanders that their run defense is ranked 31st in yards per carry allowed. 5.1 is 22nd in yards per game. So the Commanders are coming off their best showing, allowing only 104 yards against the Browns, but they facing a formidable foe with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. They could capable of running big time yards. So the Ravens, they rank first in yards per rush, 6.1. They're averaging 211 yards per game, 211.2 yards a game. So keep your eyes on how they're going to stop the leading rusher in Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Because the Commanders have allowed NFL worst 24 carries of 10 plus yards, while the Ravens own the most such carries, 28. But look at the Ravens. The Ravens are not good on defense this year so far. They've allowed the 7th most points per game this season, 25.2. Facing quarterback Jane Daniels, the highest scoring team in the NFL, averaging 31 points a game. But the Baltimore Ravens has been strictly successful dominating young quarterbacks. John Harbaugh, since he became coach in 2008, the Ravens are 23-7 against starting rookie quarterbacks, which trails only the Steelers. Stat know that this will be the 3rd starting quarterback matchup since 1950 between the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and the reigning MVP. Gotta go back to 2020. Lamar Jackson faced Joe Burrow, and Jim Plunkett played against John Brody in 1971. Okay, now we get to the 405/425 games and nightcap. Chargers and the Broncos, 3-2 Broncos. Chargers 2-2. Chargers storylines that the Chargers have lost 7 of their past 10 matchups against the Broncos, have won in Denver since 2018. The Chargers are on a 2-game skid, haven't scored a touchdown in the second half since week 1. The Broncos have the 2nd best defense in points allowed per game. So the storyline with the Broncos is that they are tied for 22nd in scoring, 19.2, 28th in yards per play, 4.5, 31st on third down, 24.6%, 26th in the red zone efficiency. Let's get the league's top scoring defense, 12.5 points per game. So the key for the Broncos may be patience. Nothing would be easy against Jesse Minter's defense. Well, Nix has not thrown an interception in the Broncos' 3-game winning streak. He threw 4 in the 2 losses to open the season. Now the Broncos had the most pressures in the NFL since week 3, 49. 2nd most sacks, 15. The 72 points they allowed this season are the lowest through 5 games since 2009. Steelers and the Raiders. Classic rivalry dating back to the 70s. We look at Kenny Stabler, Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, Mean Joe Green, Cliff Branch, Jack Tatum, Virginia Upshaw. Brett Litnikoff. But this rivalry is renewed. 3-2 Steelers against the Raiders, so 2-3. So line for the Steelers that Mike Tomlin, the coach of the Steelers, he did left the door open for a quarterback. Russell was to be active. We'll see about that. And you get this, jump start in their offense after losing 2 of their 3 games in large part to slow starts. Steelers have averaged 4.3 points in the first half compared to 16 in the second half. The Raiders defense is banged up with top free agency acquisition defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. He's sidelined with a foot injury. The Raiders, they trying to get a spark. Looking for a spark with Aiden O'Connell. So we'll see how he plays. It's still a defense. Stat knows that the Steelers have allowed an average of 23.5 points per game in their 2 straight losses after allowing 8.7 points in 3 straight wins to start the season. This is a good one. Lions versus Cowboys. Storyline for the Lions is that it was a controversial ending to last year's matchup. It was a training topic where Dallas beat Detroit after the potential game-winning 2-point conversion by offensive lineman Taylor Decker was negated. A legal touching penalty for not reporting eligible. So we see if they get redemption, redeem themselves a goal and beat Dallas in Dallas. For the Dallas Cowboys, the Cowboys had won 16 straight home games. That was the second longest home winning streak in franchise history. They lost their first 2 home games this season. And if they lose a 3rd straight Sunday to the Lions, it will mark the first 3-game home losing streak with their starting quarterback since 2006. The Cowboys lost 3 straight at home in 2020 without Dak Prescott, 2010, 2014, and 2015 without Tony Romo. So that knows that after completing 19 consecutive passes against the Seahawks in week 4, Goff could match the longest streak in NFL history with 6 straight against the Cowboys. Philip Rivers set the record of 25 in 2018. Falcons at the Panthers. So line for the Falcons that Kirk Cousins, the quarterback of the Falcons, has thrown a league high 8 touchdowns when not under pressure in 2024 with no interception, but has a league high 5 interceptions under pressure. Panthers storylines that they rank near the bottom of the league every major category. They rank 28th in the league, faces the worst 3rd down defense in Atlanta. Stat knows that the Falcons have trailed in the final minute of the 4th quarter. All 3 of their wins this season, they're the first team in the NFL should do that in the first 5 games. They got the nightcap with the Giants and the Bengals. This matchup is between the offense of Cincinnati against the Giants defense. Cincinnati is 2nd in the league in points per drive. Joe Burrow is 2nd in total QBR with 73.6. Past 3 weeks, the Giants have had a very disruptive pass rush, first in sacks per drop, and only 3 of their opponents' past 34 drives have had snaps in the red zone. That's for the storyline for the Bengals. The Giants storyline is that the Giants have won just one of their past 14 primetime games with Daniel Jones at quarterback. He has the worst record of any quarterback in prime time since the 1970 merger. So see what happens with that. Stat knows that the Bengals are 0-4 all time on the road against the Giants. One of 2 franchises that have never defeated. They haven't defeated on the road, including the Vikings. They're 0-6. Then you got the Monday night game, Bills versus Jets. Storyline this one is that the question is for the Bills is if the offense can turn itself around enough to avoid the team's first 3-game losing streak with Josh Allen starting. The team's first overall since losing 4 straight in 2018. The Bills are averaging 15 points per game over the past 2 games after averaging 37.3 points per game in a 3-game winning streak to start the season. Khalil Shakur has an ankle injury, has yet to participate in practice, missed last week versus Texas, so see if he'll be ready this week. For the Jets, obviously got a new interim head coach at the firing of Robert Saleh. Jeff Ulbrich. His goal is to eliminate this reputation as slow starters that played them through the Robert Saleh era. They have almost as many penalties in the first quarter as points. 13 penalties and points. 14. So Nathaniel Hackett has been demoted. Todd Dunn will be replacing him. So the stat knows that the Bills have never lost 3 straight games following a 3-0 start in franchise history. They've started 3-0 12 times. All right, so that's it for tonight for Football Friday. Rashad Mitchell will be back next week for next Friday to recap what took place in college football and NFL and what to look for the following week, upcoming week of college football and NFL. Until then, talk to you next Friday.